What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Me Having Next at the basketball court in the Indianapolis airport. As always, I am your host, Zach Cronin, and today we are talking about, I'm going to call it a blockbuster trade. Pascal Siakam was sent from Toronto to Indianapolis, or more specifically to the Indiana Pacers, for a package that includes Bruce Brown and three first round picks. There are pretty much all the signs pointing that Siakam will re sign with the Pacers this summer as he enters free agency, which is probably why the Pacers spent a quite sizable package to bring him on. I've seen mixed reactions to this trade all over the internet, which I guess is par for the course when you seek out opinions on Twitter and Reddit. All things considered, this is a very good trade for both teams. I think the Raptors maybe a little bit more so because they have officially entered the Scotty Barnes era. There is a lot more, or there's a lot less uncertainty in that regard. We all know that Scotty is going to be a tremendous player going forward. Um, and with the Pacers, of course, they're looking to build a championship contender. And I think that they're only a few years away from reaching a point where they can regularly contend for the Eastern Conference Finals. They've beaten a bunch of good teams throughout this year. I know they're on a little bit of a skid right now with Tyrese Halliburton and his health and everything. But when everyone is on the court together, when everybody is fully healthy, I think that this Pacers offense is still going to be as electrifying as it always has been. It's still going to be as efficient as it always has been. There is just um, a lot more explosiveness that Siakam brings. I understand he's not the greatest 3-point shooter, and that's a huge portion of their offense as well, but they have enough people to compensate for that. Where he does add another much needed dynamic is a secondary perimeter scorer. As of right now, Tyrese Halliburton is tasked with basically creating everything for everybody with the exception of Miles Turner. But Miles Turner is not the same caliber offensive player as Pascal Siakam. You can give the ball to Siakam and watch him create one on one. He may only have one move, which is a spin move, but he's very effective at it. He's very effective at getting into the paint. This is a guy who this season is shooting like 52% from the field. I think shooting like 75% inside the restricted area as well. He knows how to get to his spots regardless of how limited, quote unquote, limited his offense may seem. There is also him being a relatively decent playmaker. This year, he's averaging 5 assists per game. Basically, he averaged a shade under 6 last season. He is a very, very good facilitator as well, and someone who can once again relieve some pressure off of Halliburton because this load that Tyrese is carrying, I don't know how sustainable it is. And you don't want to overload your franchise cornerstone this early on in his career. Now there's just like infinite opportunities for these guys to create. They're not going to lose a step in transition either, which is of course a huge piece of their game going forward. Indiana is already the best team in terms of points per possession when it comes to cutting. They now add Siakam, who is in the 82nd percentile in cuts. Granted, he didn't do that much cutting with Toronto because he did spend a lot of time creating and spend a lot of time on the ball as well. Having a guy who can find the openings in the defense alongside Obi Toppin, alongside Benedict Mathurin, guys like that. There really is, there's, as I just said, there's infinite possibilities for this offense going forward. I do also think that there's going to be added benefits on defense as well. Siakam may not be the greatest perimeter defender, but he's got good size, he's got good length, he's got very good athleticism. He's coming from an organization in Toronto that has stressed, proficiency on defense, and this Indiana team hemorrhages points. They absolutely need some sort of ball stopper on defense. I don't know if Siakam is that guy, but he's a guy who can give them a little bit more confidence on the perimeter and also, take a little bit of pressure off of Miles Turner on defense as well, who is pretty much like not pretty much, who is their defensive anchor. Overall, I don't really have any issues with this trade. I had a friend text me yesterday and basically talking about how it seems like 3 first round picks is a lot to give up for a guy who isn't a superstar. But this is the going rate for guys like Siakam now. You look at an all-star caliber guy, an all NBA caliber guy, you're looking to have to give away at least 2 first round picks. This is just the point where we're at in the NBA, and I think that it is well worth it, especially since all the reports indicate that Siakam is excited and looking to re-sign long term in Indianapolis. That is a huge caveat to this deal. I do think that in the communication, Indiana was assured. I don't know if it was by Siakam himself or by his agent, but I think that the Pacers were assured that he would remain in Indiana and he would do everything to work out a deal in Indiana for 3, 4 years or so. If there was a hang up on that, I don't think that the Pacers would have pulled the trigger because you don't give away three first round picks for a guy who's going to leave. So I'm thinking they did their due diligence. Again, I don't know if these were conversations had this year or conversations had in the past, pardon me, but I think the Pacers know what they were getting themselves into. Additionally, these picks that they're giving away, I believe that a couple of them were the Pacers picks. These are not going to be great picks. You're looking probably in the low teens, high 20s, somewhere in that. And it's not that you can't find game changers in that area of the draft, but contending teams are more willing to give up their draft picks, especially if they are going to be later, because those guys are potentially not going to contribute right away. I mean, Siakam was a late first round pick himself, and he didn't really start to pop off until, 4 years into the league. Overall, once again, very solid deal for everybody going forward. The Raptors, I'm very impressed with how the front office has been moving over the last couple of weeks. I always enjoy when a basketball team or a basketball organization has a plan. And the Raptors clearly are ready to make Scotty Barnes the face of the franchise. I don't know if he's going to be the face of the league like Darko Rajakovic thinks, but they have him. They have R.J. Barrett. Who knows what Emmanuel quickly is going to turn into? He's a very solid young player in his own right. They know what they want to do, and they also got a pretty good deal in return. I mean, 3 first round picks. You have Bruce Brown, who you'll be able to flip to a contender for maybe another pick. I am a little concerned with Siakam's age. I mean, he is going to be 30 in a couple of months. Doesn't really line up with this young-ish team, but I think the Pacers are confident in seeing how this organization has played that there are a bunch of dogs at the top of the Eastern Conference, but they are able to be beaten. We've seen the Bucks be beaten in the first round. We've seen the Celtics get beaten. We've seen Philadelphia get beaten even more so when you consider the possible issues with Joel Embiid's health, even though I don't want to make that a whole thing. But there is a chance for the Pacers to have an upset in the first round this season. And of course, a couple years down the line, you have Miles Turner, you have Tyrese Halliburton, you have Pascal Siakam. That is a very, very good big three. That is a very respectable big three. You get a couple reliable role players. I mean, Obi Toppin fits with this team spectacularly. Benedict Mathurin, and on top of that, you have a fantastic head coach in Rick Carlisle. So very good trade all around. Even if you want to argue that the Pacers gave up a little bit too much, I will concede that argument. It is a lot. However, I see why they did it. Hopefully, Pascal Siakam resigns because holy shit, if he does not, the Pacers definitely got fleeced. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this video out. Thank you all so very much for coming to hang out with me today. As always, everything I'm associated with is down in the description box below. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the channel. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment as well. It really helps out with the algorithm. If you're to do any of those 3 things, you will become my new favorite person. And with that, I'll catch you all in the next one.